Hi, thanks for joining us today. I'm Gary Cohen, Senior Editor of Industrial Cybersecurity Pulse, a new brand dedicated to providing critical information and solutions to cybersecurity professionals working in industrial environments. Now, for a lot of these videos so far, we've been talking to operational technology professionals. Today, we actually have an information technology, an IT professional with us today. Joining us is Bryan Bennett. Bryan is the cybersecurity practice leader at Environmental Systems Design. Prior to that, he spent many years with big companies like Dell and Walmart. He actually also is a facilities expert, so we are going to talk a little bit about facilities today. Bryan, welcome, and thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
So let's start on buildings. Where are the majority of buildings most vulnerable right now to cyber attack?
Well, it's interesting because most of them are actually vulnerable, honestly, everywhere. Anything that is on the network, whether it's IT, OT, even the guest Wi-Fi, if it is somehow connected to your internal environment, it could be a vulnerability. Most guest Wi-Fi's, they're on a totally separate circuit and they're not able to be connected, but it could be something as, again, as easy to overlook as electronic signage in a lobby. It could be, any type of node or device on the network that is simply not patched or not with an appropriate password, or just left unsecured thinking that nobody can reach it. Many people have a tendency to say it's on a private network, but if you're working remotely or you're out of your building or anything of that nature and you can still VPN, it is not on a private network. It is on a different network segment that still has vulnerability. So again, to answer your question, the only way to determine that your environment has the least amount of vulnerabilities or a less, everything is secure or everything is as secure as it can be, is to do an overall health check of your entire environment.
So looking at the Verkada security breach that happened recently with surveillance cameras, basically anything that's web enabled can be accessed by someone with malicious intent. And then once they're on, they can just linger in that system and wait until something useful for them comes up, correct?
That is absolutely correct. What usually happens is somebody with malicious intent will try to not bust down the front door like, ram a bank safe vault and just try to break their way in. What they'll do now is find something that they consider obscure or something that's not guarded as heavily. And once they can access that, they'll sit there. They won't, for a while, determined on the nature of the environment, what a while actually is. But what they will do is they'll sit there and just slowly look around and try their best to be undetected. With that, most intrusions are over 200 days before they're detected. So somebody literally has 7 months-ish on average, just to look around and see what they can find. So if anybody has unencrypted files, anything can get into, once they make a hop, of course, the network term is every node or every device is a hop. So once you can get from one hop to the next, you can literally have access to anything that is left unprotected or less protected, because hackers, quite sadly, are ahead of us. It's like being a policeman. You have to go chase the crime when you know it's happening. You can't always prepare something to make it crime proof. It's the same scenario.
So what are a few things that smart building or facility managers should be doing to help protect their facilities against cyber attack?
There are 3 that always stick out as a primary concern. The absolute very first one is to use multi-factor authentication. Anytime, especially if you're on the outside of the building or remoting in, whatever you want to call it. If you can access your environment, you need to have multi-factor authentication. It could be something as a RSA token. It could be, a separate password. It could be even logging into a lot of devices and have BitLocker. You have to unlock that machine locally before you can access an external network. And that's how it should be. But multi-factor authentication, to me, is one of the highest priorities you can have. But it goes with at least 2 others. The second one would be encryption. Every single thing that you would hold as to be the crown jewels of your environment, encrypt that file. Make it very, very restricted. most of the people in the IT environment understand work groups or user groups. If you're in accounting or in HR, if you're in HR, you can see everybody's salary, everybody's health records, social security numbers, family members, addresses, everything that's really, really sacred to personal information. If those files aren't encrypted, or if anybody that knows somebody else's password can get in, it's not safe. You've got to have a separate level. Even though you can log in as somebody in HR, you need to have a separate password to access that file or that file share. And I'll say the last one, the third, and to me, equally as important, maintain your patch level, whether it's IT, whether it's router switches, laptops, desktops, any end device, as well as the OT environment. There are so many updates that come out for OT specific environments that just aren't applied because, again, most people think it's on a separate network, it's on a private network, it can't be accessed. Most of the folks that make those decisions in a facility, or if you have a security type of a leader, they don't understand IT, and as well as they maybe should to make that educated statement. But also, a hacker is probably better at infiltrating your environment that you are protecting it. But anything you can do to be a deterrent, because no environment is completely safe. I think we've all been made aware of that. But anything you can do to ensure that it's really difficult for a hacker, they'll simply move on unless they just get obsessed with your environment. They'll move on. And sadly, that's better than hanging out in your world. So if you can just get them to go to the next target, it's still better than it happening to you.
So the responsibility for cybersecurity usually falls squarely on internal IT departments. Do you think most IT departments are equipped to handle the kinds of modern attacks that are coming in more and more quickly today?
That's a trick question. The short answer is no. I believe that in one of my previous employers, I believe that they believed that everything could be done in-house. We all knew everything that we needed to know, and we didn't need to outsource or get a third party to validate us. The trouble with that is you don't know everything. You think you do, but you don't, right? Your leaders can put all kinds of faith in you, and they should, but collaboration as well as getting a third party entity to simply check the checker, right? Every year, all the accounting departments everywhere go through an audit to make sure that the books are right so they can publish their financials. Security should be no different. You should have an outside source validate what you're doing. And it'd be amazing if they come back and say, you've done everything right, looks good. It's locked up as tight as it can be. None of us have ever gone to the doctor years, over and over and had them go, you're the picture of health. You'll never have any health issues. You got it covered. It's always good to make the investment to validate yourself. Always.
That's great information. Thanks so much, Bryan. And thanks for sharing your insights with us today.
Yes, sir.
For more great information on industrial cybersecurity, please check us out at industrialcybersecuritypulse.com and check back with us regularly for more installments in our expert and CEO interview series, including more with the one and only Bryan Bennett. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.